Welcome back to the Pitch Pod. My name is Joe Janner. I'm here gracefully as a co-host to Jeff Stebbins. Jeff, how are you doing?
Yeah, hi Joe. Doing well here. Just excited to have a good conversation with you about football, soccer, as always.
And we are looking at the Champions League because we all know on the Pitch Pod, Jeff, you and I, we love talking about the Champions League. We're looking forward to a specific match, Dortmund versus Barcelona, set to play this upcoming week. I think anybody that's looking outside in at this competition is going, this is a game that people, whether you're supporting one side or the other, definitely have an interest in seeing how this turns out. That's why we're talking about it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is definitely the match to focus on this upcoming week. Wednesday, December 11th. Of course, it's at BVB Stadium in Germany. And just so that everyone knows, we are on match day 6 of the Champions League, and we are sitting at third place, Barcelona, fourth place, Dortmund. And really, they have the same amount of points, but there's a small goal differential that puts Barcelona slightly ahead. So, a pretty critical game here, Joe. Match day 6 of 8 of this early Champions League session. So, and again, sitting neck and neck in that third and fourth position on the chart at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we talk about this often. We make sure to mention how these clubs are doing respectively in their domestic league competitions as well. I think that we have to in this episode also reference the fact that look who is number one in La Liga, Barcelona. Where is Dortmund? Fifth in Bundesliga. Now, if you look at the recent form, that's something to consider. But I think to get back to what you just suggested and the importance of this match, the fact that they do sit at the same level on points. Yes, one does have a advantage over with goal differential, but it's a big game.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Barcelona is having a great season thus far. You're right. La Liga, always highly competitive with Real Madrid, among others. But Joe, what do you attribute Dortmund's struggle with in the Bundesliga? I mean, we know Bayern's there, right? They're always a top contender, but what's going on over there? Because they seem to always perform well in the Champions League. So yeah, is it the league? Is it overly competitive? Is it that challenging, or is the team just kind of injury ridden at the moment? What's going on?
I'm gonna take none of the above and insert the potential that if we were to really dissect the age and the tenure and the time that some of these players have been there in Dortmund, that it's possibly a situation, a case of where it's just maybe they've gone on too long, and maybe these guys are long in the tooth, as they say, or Jeff, maybe we need to just all come to the realization it's a young man's, a young woman's game. This soccer, this what these folks are doing, and to get into your 30s. I mean, I hope nobody's crying out there listening to this, but this is a reality, right? And so maybe that's what you're seeing with this Dortmund squad. You're seeing some players that have just maybe their time has passed, not only at this club, but maybe their careers. And as a result, you're looking at a squad that's at fifth. I mean, not they're in fifth, and there's double digit points, I think, from the top. So it's a little bit of concern there. Now, that's not to say it's still early on in both these campaigns that they can turn this around, and I fully anticipate and expect that to be the case. But if you were to ask me just from maybe a superficial analysis or a perspective why I think that they're underperforming in the league, that is it. It is a team, a club that may need to bring in some fresh blood. What are we doing in their academy? What are we doing to get talent from outside? They surely have the name, they surely have the brand, they surely have the positioning to attract talent at all levels. What are they doing to achieve that? That would be the question.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because they have offloaded some of the older players as of not too long ago, such as Roos and a few other attackers, and they do have some younger guys like Gio Reyna. But all around as a team, if you were to look at the age gap among other teams, I think you do have a point there. And then as far as the academy and training at a young age, I think it's also significant that Dortmund over the years have trained in really helped mentor some players and then just trade them off right before they hit their prime. So I think you have some good points there. If you fix those things and get some young blood, I believe you referred to it as in the organization, and make sure it's managed properly, they got to be just ready to take off, right?
I mean, maybe it's one of those ones where and it was working and it has worked, but as all due courses, that sometimes maybe it doesn't work, and it's maybe oversight to suggest that they, you know, had not done enough. I think that's partly what I'll be looking at. What are they doing, and who are they looking at scouting wise? What markets? Who are they looking to attract? What is the player aside from those? Like you said, they develop them through their academy. They're out the door, or they're bringing in some other players. That's what I'll be interested to see. Maybe their perspective or their means to go about producing their on-field performance has changed a little bit. So I'd like to explore that a little bit further. But again, it's still early. Still early.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. And then on the other side, we're looking at Barcelona, and I wanted to highlight a couple players there that I'm a fan of. So Yamal, the youngster, super talented young player. Sometimes they save him for the second half, but very dynamic, gets in the offensive mix from the wing. The Brazilian player, Rafinha, he is also super dynamic. He can score, he can make assists. I mean, those two alone right there are probably a large part of the reason that Barcelona's at the top of the table for La Liga. But the guy that I think gets overlooked, one of my favorites, right? Lewandowski. He's actually leading the Champions League thus far in goals with 7. I've always been a big fan of his play, not only because of his ability to put the ball in the back of the net, but he sets up his teammates. He does a lot of stuff that gets unnoticed. And unless you go back and watch the highlight reels and really pay attention, you don't see what he's doing because, he's kind of a little bit more quieter and reserved as a personality. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely a big fan and have been impressed with what Barcelona has done so far this season.
I think those are all good points. I think it's maybe not necessarily in contrast, but what you've outlined there is a good mix or a good dynamic of this experienced player, well known, and then on the other, a very new face, new talent to the scene that's exceptional in what they're doing with an opportunity to play at this level at such a young age, and then having the club to support that and having the management in place to support that, and then imagine that in the top competition, doing well. I mean, so you got to, I mean, yes, they have the financial aspects and means to provide that experience, but you got to wonder how many others that would also be set in that same way by going, well, what are they doing right? They're doing a lot right. Maybe we should do the same. Not easy, or rather easier said than done, but maybe something that we should look at. Maybe that's my point with the opposition with Dortmund is that that's a lot what they're not right these days. So that's my point
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And a couple key injuries on both sides. Who knows whether or not they're going to make it back, but that could also influence the outcome. But Joe, I'm super excited for this one. I can't wait. And I think I'm ready if you are to make some predictions here.
Are you saying that here I am going first once again? Yes, I'm fine. I have this. Not an easy place to go into, of course. I mean, all things that we've said, as well as Barcelona's doing in their respective domestic league, as poorly, not poorly, but as underperforming as you might look at Dortmund doing in theirs. And then where they are together on the table, it's tough. It's a really tough one for me. So tough that I don't think that it goes any other way than a draw. I think these teams can play. And I think they can score. So I see them 2-2 draw in this one.
Yeah, I think that's a great prediction. I really do because Barcelona coming into that difficult place to play, coming away with a draw, it's pretty good. And I think you're right. I think Dortmund steps it up for the Champions League. There's a little magic in the air. They're playing at their
Mm-hmm.
home stadium. I mean, the fans get into it. So I think you're right. I think this is a tough one. I think it's going to be close regardless, and it's going to be a fun one. But I I think Dortmund's going to just squeeze by on this one. I'm not saying they're the better team. I'm not saying they're going to advance further, but on this potential match day 6, with where they're both at right now, I just I think Dortmund's going to pull it off because of their past ability to step up when it counts, and they're still, yes, they're aging, but there's still a lot of talent on that team, and and I'm excited to see what they can do. So I have Dortmund winning this one 2-1.
Okay, that would then be enough to push them above. In that case, that would be a great position for them to be, like we said, in match day 6 to get a win at this time against this opponent. Massive result. Looking forward to it either way. I think it's going to be a great game. I hope others are tuning in. Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate you. Join us here at the Pitch Pod. If you get a chance, please hit that like and subscribe. As always, keep pitching out there, everyone.